There's no way out.
Deeper you get in.
There's no way out. Come with me.
We are talking about the Kubrick-esque style movie, The Night. And this one is actually partially spoken in foreign language. It actually focuses on a Iranian couple, but it is actually set in America and is a slow burn horror thriller. So what's the plot? So as I said, it focuses on this Iranian couple and they are returning from a night out with some friends. And it's quite late, so rather than kind of driving home, they decide to go into a hotel. Now this couple seems like they are not on the best of terms. They're not out and out hating each other and kind of at odds necessarily, but they're certainly strained in their kind of relationship. They also have a young baby. They're tired, so they stop over at this hotel, check into this seemingly kind of deserted hotel, and strange things start to happen. Noises, people knocking on the door, but then opening the door and no one is there. And as the movie progresses, it seems like the night is going to go on forever. And obviously the potentially supernatural and paranormal events seem to increase as the kind of the film progresses. What will happen? You have to watch the movie to find out. So let's talk about what works first of all. I think the movie, for obviously which must be relatively kind of low budget, knows its limitations and kind of really aims for a mood piece, a atmospheric slow burn horror film. But I mean, I say horror only in the aspect that there are some paranormal elements here. It kind of, I guess you would say, is probably veers more on the kind of the drama thriller side of things, but there are horror elements here. The thing I've kind of alluded to that I really liked was the relationship between this couple, because they had such a complex relationship. You know, even for that you could get on this sort of relatively meager time that we know them in real life, but they seem realistic. They have they're obviously supportive of each other, but at the same time they're also at odds with each other from time to time, and they kind of drive each other up the wrong way a little bit from time to time. And so it seems like they're in a place where I feel probably a lot of relationships end up, where you do have feelings and you care for someone and you're protective of them, but at the same time there are frustrations and kind of things that you maybe don't want to tell this other person, and secrets that you're going to want to keep in fear of the reprisals and things like that. So I feel that it does a good job of having a very kind of realistic and modern relationship. And I like that. I thought the acting and the writing for both of that aspects was very, very strong. And although the characters aren't overly likeable, I feel that they are relatable. So you can kind of see where they're coming from, their point of views, and they seem realistic in that respect. I think the location shooting within this kind of hotel will obviously kind of, you'll think of The Shining immediately, but nonetheless, I think it does have a somewhat of a personality of its own, and I do think it feels legitimately, obviously, like a hotel, which I'm assuming where it actually shot it. But it kind of still has that sort of creepy element that is, somewhat of an unsettling film, because the movie is by no means a kind of a jump scare. There's no gore in here. There's no a real kind of like special effects as such. But what it does has is a kind of a creeping dread and a kind of a feeling of unease as the kind of this seemingly endless night is kind of coming on with obviously the sun not seeming to rise and things like this. So if you like a slow burn, dramatic horror film, then this may well be one to check out. I like the fact that this movie is actually, even though it's kind of set in America, the primary language isn't English, and I thought that kind of does give it somewhat of a unique feel to it. And it almost, you feel like the point of view of someone who is, immigrated from another country to America, and how they view living in those kind of in a kind of a different country that maybe isn't their own. So I did think that kind of gives it a unique feel. We've seen plenty of kind of foreign language horror movies, but they tend to be set in their kind of native country. So this one kind of goes in a space where I feel is somewhat unique. What doesn't work? I think the movie is a little bit of a drag in places. It has a running time of 1 hour and 3/4, and I just didn't think it needed to be this long. And you do feel the running time because this movie is a slow burn, and when it's all said and done, there's not a lot actually happens, to be honest. I mean, the film that we have, I think, is well made. But plot-wise, you do feel that there are long shots, and I get this is on purpose because their filmmakers are. The whole point of this movie is the fact that there's kind of like this. There's this long night essentially, and things it never seems to end, and obviously that's kind of what the characters are kind of going through. But as a viewer, you're kind of sitting there thinking you're feeling it as well, which is. On one hand, obviously that's kind of the film is portraying that as what the characters are going through. But as for a piece of entertainment, you kind of feel like you want the story to progress a little bit, and I think it labours on certain points for too long, and then ultimately I think it becomes a little bit of a you're fidgeting around a bit because you feel the story isn't going to be particularly going in any kind of like real twists and turns, and there are twists. But I think, to be honest with you, they're really obvious. I mean, I can't even hint towards them because they are so obvious. The merest hint, I think, I think the movie thinks that it has this big reveal in the movie, but I think it's so super obvious about kind of what's going on, or at least kind of like what our protagonists are experiencing. Although we don't really know why, to be honest. There's a kind of an emphasis put on the tattoos, but I feel that needed to be explored a little bit more because there is a line that one of the characters is right at the beginning, so it's not a spoiler. That's, oh, why did you get these particular tattoos? Oh, it was just a design in the shop. Great. So it's kind of like this throwaway kind of line that you think, okay, they were just some random tattoos, but you felt they have a bit more relevance in the movie than they actually, it seems to portray. And that needs to be fleshed out a little bit, but there you go. But I think the kind of the movie just kind of, it does drag, to be honest with you. It's a well-made film, but it does drag, and the plot twists are really, really obvious. I was expecting it kind of more things to happen, to be honest with you, although that can't be it. That can't be it, because it's so kind of like obvious that's what's kind of going on. That there must be something else, but kind of not quite. It does try to have a something else that's going on, but even that I felt was relatively signposted. So overall, it's a well-made film in regards to a technical point of view. I think it's well shot, it's well acted, I think it's quite well written, but from an entertainment point of view, I've got to say I found it somewhat lacking, and ultimately not particularly kind of creative. And I think the movie tries to kind of portray like a passage of time and how kind of that would affect someone, and that's I understand the story element of that, but for someone kind of wanting to watch a piece of entertainment, I think it needed to have a little bit more to it than this. I think it maybe would have benefited from having a little bit more visual flair, because kind of when we do see stuff happening, it's relatively kind of mundane. There was one. Again, I don't want to spoil anything for you, but there was one piece of violence in the movie. I don't know if it was warranted as well. That's all I'll say. Overall, like I said, it's a well-made. I won't say this is a bad film in any respect, because I think it's a well-made, well-acted movie, but it just isn't particularly exciting, and I feel the concept is overstretched. I'll give it a 6 out of 10. Have you seen it? What did you think of it? Leave me a comment, and I'll look forward to seeing it next time. Bye for now.